Chat, in case you did not know, if you are new to the podcast for the last, 9 months? 10 months?
Year.
Last year.
384 days was my total.
For the last 384 days, Paul has been deployed. For the first time, he is back home. He's in Indiana. We have him back. Welcome back, brother. We can finally start playing League together again.
I know.
And more importantly, you made it back, obviously, from deployment without getting fucked up. So, that's...
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
That too.
Has it... how's life been, adjusting to... do you still have to work night shift, or are you back on normal hours as well?
No, I just quit working before I left because I was like, I'll just find a new job when I get back. I didn't have anything good anyways. So I was like, okay, when I come back, I'll just find a new job. So I'm using out the leave time I have left. And then I saved money out there because obviously, how do you not save money? Yeah. Everything's being paid for. So, and I was getting a per diem. So it was pretty easy to save money. So I'm just chilling, really applying to places. I want to have a job by January, I'd say.
That's not bad.
And then, yeah, it should be pretty easy. Turn around, and then, boom. But I'm off nights. I'm back on days, just in time for Worlds to be completely nights.
You picked the one time that North America is still in it. And it actually benefits you to be on a fucked up sleep schedule. You finally go back to normal living. Welcome to hell.
Yeah. It's kind of paying off, though, because I can watch the VOD on League a lot easier than it was watching NFL and NBA VODs.
Yeah, that's fair.
They have not, in my opinion, adapted very well to the modern era. Or as I guess Pat McAfee would say, the modern era. They have not adapted. And YouTube's VOD system, YouTube TV does a good job.
Yeah.
You can skip pretty easy, but you can't watch anything till after it's over. So if you happen to wake up in the middle of a game, and it's not in your area, then you have to wait till the game is fully over for you to be able to go back and watch the VOD. You can't just join a VOD that isn't in your area unless you buy the ticket.
But even then, I don't know if you're able to, because the NFL is very strict about their VOD, and their how people use their videos. They actually just did it was just announced that they had a new deal with content creators where they were giving them the unrestricted feed to be able to start clipping things and like sending it out a little bit quicker than normal. But it's only like a select few content creators that get access to that.
Yeah, like they're starting to get it's looking pretty popular. I watch a guy on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people know him, like Tom Grossi, I think is his name. And he's doing watch-alongs, and he's now getting like 7K viewers on watch-alongs on NFL games on YouTube, which is crazy to me. Something I never thought would be a thing. But like YouTube seems to be the hub of NFL like digital media consumption, because that's where Pat is, that's where he is. Like,
it's not just
some
YouTube
Twitch
either.
Streamers.
This is the first time in I think like 3 or 4 years of Worlds that YouTube viewership has grown significantly compared to Twitch. Like in terms of like the total mix.
Yeah, I had no clue until you posted about it that like Caedrel, because I never go on Twitch. I have YouTube Premium. And Caedrel's pulling like almost as much as the world stream for Weibo games. I was like, whatever, dude. Like, that's crazy.
It's amazing.
That's insane. He had like 100K on one of them.
Yeah. Now, granted, that's nowhere close. The world's broadcast is hitting like 600,000 minimum.
It is. But it's like 100K on a watch along. Like, that's wild numbers. No wonder the dude retired or stepped away. Like,
he'd be dumb not to. He's probably making $1 million a month, I'd say.
Yeah, 100K viewers. Like, I don't even know. Like, that's gotta be dumb money.
It's gotta be a lot. I don't even know how many subs he has. I mean, that alone's probably like 50, 60K, I'd imagine. I don't know
That's a stupid amount.
Ugh.
It's hilarious though he chose to do it right when Europe decided to just completely shit the bed.
Well, lucky for him, he had Weibo alongside it. Otherwise, like it would have been miserable for him.
Oh yeah,
The
it
heel
would have been so
the
bad.
heel turn was so good. I know we haven't had the chance to talk at all during Swiss, but
True.
oh man,
Which Swiss, bro, I've noticed it makes it hard to like make a narrative, like on the teams, I guess, like in how their power correlates.
yeah.
Like it's just tough because
I oh no, go ahead.
I was just saying like I was struggling because after people said like, "Oh, G2 lost, but they beat an LPL and LCK rep," it's so messed up. I was like, okay, but who'd they play? And I go back and look, and they played both fourth seeds from each region. One of the fourth seeds didn't even make it out, but they technically lost to KT, who I feel like is pretty good. But they're also a third seed, so then it has me sitting there like, it kind of makes sense that G2 won the games they won and lost the games they lost. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I know NRG lost to Weibo, but I can see you losing a best of one and then beating a team who beat them in a best of one in a best of one also. Like,
That the biggest misconception around Swiss is that winning going 2-0 is an advantage.
yeah,
Like
it's
it's an
not.
advantage if you're the top two teams. If you're Genji and JDG, yeah, it's great. But
Hmm.
G2 showed it perfectly where it's like if you are a team that is overperforming and over indexing,
Yep,
somebody's going to expose you up there.
yep.
And you run the risk like once momentum starts going down, like it's great that you're riding up 2-0, but momentum in Swiss stage means everything. It is very hard. Like you don't get as many teams that kind of go like up, down, up, down, up, down, like barely kind of get through. You'll have a team like that drops down one like 0-1 and then immediately skyrockets out because they get a little bit cleaner. And
Yeah.
like T1 did that, NRG did that. LNG it was the only was LNG was the only 2-0 team that made it out. Obviously, G2 didn't make it out from there. Uh, I'm trying to
Hmm.
think who else. Everybody else, I don't know. It's just like momentum is very important in Swiss stage, and obviously your draw is important as well. We could have drawn somebody else, but like the thing that people get mad about, which I don't quite understand, is like people are like, oh well, you faced Team Liquid and Mad. It's like okay, well we were in the bottom half of the bracket. That's how it should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
We got lucky
And
on the
then,
mad draw. I'll give you that. But like beating G2, like they were considered a semifinal team by most people. So
yeah. And,
for us to go against them and win, like I don't care whether that's the East or not.
mhm,
That's a semifinal level opponent. Period.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it makes no sense to me because it's like, okay, I get allegedly the idea is G2 got hosed because they had to play a tough team in Gen G and that hurt their pride or whatever, and then they were allegedly sick. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that's come out. But at the end of the day, it's like you played NRG, who won bottom side of the bracket, was running from the bottom. Realistic, not even the bottom. They were really running from what? The 1-1. Like they were running from the middle of the bracket. And it's like I don't really get the argument that they were some like just terrible team that got super lucky and G2 just got like screwed over. Like if they're not that good, then they should have just got crushed
Yeah.
by G2. Like that's about it. Like it they really only had one loss going into that game. And granted it was the LPL fourth seed, but this was my big argument I was telling you, and this was my big thing
Oh boy.
I wanted to say
Here we go.
was we're saying that beating Chinese teams counts, right?
Yep.
And beating an LCK or an LPL team is a big deal. Well, C9 2 years ago got out of groups going 2-4, splitting a game with EU and LPL. And when they made it out of that group, 2-4, everyone said it doesn't count. They sucked. They were terrible. And they got lucky that EU and China choked, whatever. So back then, when they beat an LPL team, it doesn't count. Now, we fast forward to today, and NRG doesn't beat an LPL or an LCK team, but gets out of groups because this is basically groups or whatever, or Swiss, same difference, and they beat the number one EU team, and it doesn't count because they didn't beat an LPL team. So back then it didn't count because the LPL team just sucked and they didn't win enough games, but now it does. And really, if you think about it, NRG's record is what, 4-1 right now?
Yeah.
So they got out 4-1 without beating an LPL representative. Would you say the LPL representative, this is for other people arguing that they matter so much, means that C9 2-4 record was better or more impressive? Because I wouldn't.
No, I would say this is more impressive than that one.
Yeah, this was way more impressive to
Because
me.
beating G2 when they're playing, when they are clearly playing well,
Yeah,
is worth more than beating LPL when they're playing like shit.
yeah,
And like
like
people can say, "Oh, well, G2 played bad in that series." I'm not gonna deny they had like bad moments, obviously, but like, why is it always the sole goal of people to take credit away from LCS teams when we do something good for once?
yeah. And oddly enough, like G2, the next series takes a game off BLG, and honestly played BLG closer. Like, so I don't really know what the argument would be there because really it looks like maybe they slept when they played NRG. Like they just weren't expecting them to actually step up to that level of play. But at the same time, it's like if you go back to that 2021 Cloud9 groups, like I would not say them getting out 2-4 just because they went 1-1 with LPL was more impressive than what NRG just
No,
did. Like
this
I would definitely
is
say this was better.
this for me is not. I would say Cloud9 2018 probably still the most impressive group stage
Oh, it has.
that
Yeah.
we've ever had. This
Mhm.
I would put up there as like in the modern era, probably second. I mean, granted, it's only like one of 3 or 4 options, but I would say
Yeah.
this is my clear number 2 behind that. And
Yeah. Has to be.
my whether it's delusional for people to think this or not, and whether you believe in like transitive properties of teams converting wins over one another, there is no world where you can sit here and tell me that I'm irrational for saying that NRG has an insane chance to not only make semis,
Mm.
but if BLG can pull off the upset and we truly do play to the level of our opponents and continue to grow as time goes on, I'm going to believe in the run until it's done. Period.
Yeah.
I know, by all means, I know people are going to say that I'm freaking psychotic for that, and I'm going to take it one series at a time. I'm not getting ahead of myself. But you have to go into it with the mentality that you can win it all or you're not going to go anywhere. If NRG goes in and says, "Oh, we're just happy to be here," etc., they're going to get fucking crushed.
Mm.
But if you go in with the mentality that you can win it all, that you can step up to the level of your opponent, that you can learn from scrims, you don't have to win scrims, obviously, as G2 has shown. You
Mhm.
just have to keep learning and improving and getting better. And I constantly have seen all day over Twitter today and yesterday of people saying, "Oh, let's, temper expectations. We're going to doubt them. We're going to make sure like we think negatively in hopes that something positive happens." Fuck that. Fuck that. Seriously, like why are we constantly putting ourselves down rather than just believing that our players can actually step up to meet the moment? Have some freaking faith. It's not hard. Like what joy do you get out of tempering your expectations? Of going into the series and be like, "I don't know, we're probably unfavored against this," and then at the end it's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we won." Whereas like if you're talking like that's the number one rule of shit talking is you shit talk
Mhm.
before the series so that afterwards it makes it even better. You don't say
Yep.
nothing and then afterwards come out and be like, "Huh, USA, what the fuck's a kilometer?" It's like, no, you say that shit beforehand and then you
Yup.
repeat it afterwards because then it has meaning.
Yup.
So
I mean,
fucking
you're not wrong.
so, like, live in the moment. We can beat Weibo. 100% we can beat Weibo. If we show up on the day and play our best League of Legends, we can beat them.
Yeah. I mean, we actually can. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of crazy because I feel like of all the draws, I don't know how NRG keeps getting these draws. Like, it is kind of crazy, but you also like you just can't complain. I mean, they're just so good. Like, I don't know what else you do. Like, did EU kind of get hosed
Not
in their draws? Oh, 100% afterwards.
yeah.
But they also got hosed running into us, for being honest. Just
But
saying.
that's my biggest
Running into
thing is like
USA.
here's my problem. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, EU got hosed in the draw." You couldn't beat us.
Yeah. It was year one versus R1.
Yeah. Not only that, but also like Mad Lions, like you had a chance there. You didn't.
True.
Congrats. Fnatic, yeah, they beat Cloud9. Cloud9, but Cloud9 fell out of the tournament. That's fine, but like we're not talking about C9. We're talking about NRG. Europe
Yep.
had 2 chances to beat us, and you didn't. It's as simple as that. So shut up and move on.
And if you're gonna use the argument that is being used for G2 of like, I don't know, any excuse that you've read over the last 3 days, you could use all of those excuses for Cloud9,
Yeah.
other than I guess being physically ill, but they might as well have been.
I mean, based on
they
MNS's
all
level of
hated
play,
each
I think he
other.
was physically ill.
Yeah, they all hated each other. It seems like, or maybe they did hate each other, but they did not want to be there.
Fudge's
So,
interview was so telling for me. I don't know if you watched that
yeah,
with Degon.
no, was it not good?
It was just like he's like we're not on the same page. We can't get like the same grasp of the game. It's like, bro, you're a year in. Really? You're telling me none of you had the balls to drop the ego and just commit to a play style and not like wish wash the second things get a little bit more challenging? Really?
Who was their mid last year?
Jensen.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're really this roster is dang near what 2 in like other than mid laner, but I feel like mid laner doesn't. Well, maybe mid laner does, but I don't feel
Oh,
like
they
a
do.
mid laner has that much opinion, or at least like you can't get past having a mid laner who doesn't
No,
like communicate with you. Like I feel like all of them should be communicating the same way,
it's the entire
and then
team.
you make him fall in line.
No, it's the entire team. 100% of like
Hmm.
you just like you have 5 personalities that cannot like compromise in any way, shape, or form. What makes NRG so good, and when I talked to Palafox and interviewed him whenever they made Worlds, I was talking to him about Dokla and like what their relationship is like because they've been playing together for such a long period of time off and on. And he was blunt and honest, and he said, "Look, I can't fucking stand Dokla a lot of the time." He's like, I like it just the like we it's like water and oil. But we
Hmm.
know when it comes time to play the game, we know how to make it work. And like that's the important part to me. That's where
Yep.
C9 fucks up. Because C9 doesn't have that ability to just come together and put aside egos, put aside differences, and just focus on getting better in the way that they see fit. If you can't agree upon that vision, then I'm sorry, that's an indication of Mithy that he cannot get this team to just believe in one unit. And I also
True.
believe that's the C9 systems because did LS have problems? Absolutely. But I have not seen anybody else try to be a systems coach in the LCS barring NRG. They're
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like the closest thing that we have to a
Yeah.
systems team. Where like you are gonna slot into the bigger picture. We will find out your strengths. We have a positional coach for you that is gonna try and help you do wonders. And like you are slotting in to fill this role. They literally just plugged in FBI and Ignar into this,
Mhm.
and first split, first year, it clicks. You can call that honeymoon all you want. I call that good systems.
Yep. I mean, they do have like what 8 coaches
Yeah.
in the finals, like when they were picking up the trophy, like, and it's paying off. They're showing that if you invest correctly, you can get the guys to get everyone to fall in line. And I think what even helps NRG even more is that, like, I don't know how to word it perfectly because I don't want to be like annoying to their situation, but definitely a lot of players who are on like kind of last legs type of thing. Like this is a last hurrah, and that helps a lot with getting guys to settle in
Yeah.
and accept and blow off the ego. Because I know like that there was that one what was it, the Travis tweet where he was like, "Hey, this is what happens when you keep when you give guys a chance one more time,
Yep.
if you give them the right chance and you find the right guys and you get them the right coaching, like you were saying, you can make it happen.
I do
You can
want to
make a real run.
I do want to dispute this real quick. Healy said in chat, Fudge would rather go to the gym 5 days a week instead of league 16 hours a day. Shake my head. I know it's somewhat facetious, but some people actually do believe that you should spend all 16 hours of your day playing. No, you should not. You should go to the gym and do other things because it's healthier for you. Like, it is 100% like just like you should be balancing everything. Practice is not just simply grinding the game of League of Legends. Even though that is the majority of it, you still need to go to the gym. You still need to do other things to work on your game besides just playing. But that just quick side point, because I know there are some people that do have that opinion that you should just be locked at your desk for 20 hours a day playing, get 4 hours of sleep, wake up and do it all over again. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I refuse. You want to grind, yes, more than we're grinding right now, for sure. But don't overdo it.
I think like their solo queue numbers weren't terrible, were they? I think Fudge started to pick it up.
He started to, but NRG and TLs were just off the charts.
Well,
Dokla,
Jan and APA were playing in stupid amounts.
They were, and also
Like,
same with Dokla.
Was Dokla? Okay,
And Dokla went fucking deathless.
Yeah.
Deathless that series.
You got a good point. Yeah, maybe it paid off. But
Like,
that was also a good point to what Blue said last week was Broken Blade's bound to give you one.
yeah.
Sometimes it's bound to give you one bad series.
And
that happened to be the one. But he wasn't really playing that terrible, I guess.
No, but it also made me realize whenever I was watching the games is like, you know, if anybody's going to be like the least amount of scared of Broken Blade, it's going to be Dokla and FBI. Two guys that have played against him in the league who like have experience and like sure he's grown and like has additional habits, but like you know as damn well as I do, you play against somebody that you played against 2 years ago, they might improve a little bit, but you still know how they tick. And you do like you know somebody enough, you know how to take advantage of that. And credit to the coaching staff. They fucking killed it in getting this squad ready.
They did. I mean, it was just like, I don't know, everything about it kind of just came together to be the perfect storm for them. And it'll be interesting to see how they play against Weibo. I mean, I really think they have a good shot because Weibo doesn't freak me out as a team. I think they can beat Weibo. I know that first game they had against them didn't go well, but I think you can ignore that. I think they can heat
First
up.
game of Worlds, first time on stage, getting used to it. Like their draft was terrible, which they have not made that mistake again since. It's like I know people want to like really hold that game over us. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, at all. Like Senna or Tom Kench is now going to be a permanent ban against us.
Yeah,
we played that so well. And FBI's been playing Senna since like 2020. He's been one of the more consistent Senna grinders for a while. Him and Huhi were playing Lee Sin Senna lanes back in 2021. Like, I know he knows how to play it incredibly well. And when LS was watching him, LS was like, at first he was skeptical. He's like, okay, is this going to actually be like a good Senna? And they were debating the build of whether like Storm Razor was the way to go or not. But then like LS is watching the soul stacking and watching him get gold. And he's like, oh, he's doing really well. And I was like, yeah, he is. Because he knows how to play this champion pretty damn well.
I mean, there are like, what is it? FBI was the OG like suspect import people had from because at the time he was an import, but of like, oh, is it really worth using an import slot on a OCE guy? This doesn't make any sense. And then he came out on Golden Guardians and people were like, oh, like that's why they used an import slot on this guy.
Even then, like on Golden Guardians, like they were good. I wouldn't say they were great. The game that will still always stand out to me was when 100 Thieves changed our mid lane, when we brought in Abadage. Like FBI and Someday were already good. Or not FBI. FBI and Huhi were already good. And they were doing pretty well to the point where I would have called them like a top 5 bot lane. at that time, but we were still finishing like fourth and not able to ever overcome the hurdles of like Cloud9. There was a game where they played Rel Vayne. And like Vayne is not a champion that you see many LCS pros play at all. And they're level 2ing Core JJ and Tactical at the time when Tactical was playing incredibly well. And like TL was towards the top of the standings. And I was like, oh, they're the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the problem was, even though they went on to win the LCS, we'd never seen FBI step up in those major moments at Worlds or even in like a big stadium. This year he overcomes the stadium bug and now wins a title in front of a crowd and plays
Yep.
insanely well doing so. And then on top of that, now you go to Worlds and he's performing at a very consistent level that it's like, good, keep it up, keep pushing yourself. Like that's the shit we want to see. That's the FBI that we saw 2 or 3 years ago that we knew had the potential. Is like, okay, can he maintain this? Because everybody else seemed to fall off once they kind of got to that peak. They get there for about 6 months and then collapse. And now he's back.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, okay. He's
And it's kind of like,
playing better than Berserker, which is odd to say.
I mean, yeah, he is, and it's like, and Ignar has kind of always just been around like this level. Like I feel like Ignar just kind of, if the team starts playing up, Ignar just starts playing way up with them.
Especially when he can get engage support.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's just a playmaking kind of guy, but it helps too that they have contracts. Like,
oh, dude,
he's been playing pretty insane, and
I cannot like him watching Jarvan is like the only other one that I saw that was even similar to that was like River when he was playing insane out of his mind. But like now it's like Contracts is in every lane, blowing flashes, like constantly putting people on the back foot. I think it was game 1 versus G2. Or was it game 2 where he got like set behind in jungle and they like invaded his side and like cleared all his camps, and it's like, okay, well normally LCS junglers would fall behind, and the second he saw that, he's in every other lane making plays, because sure, he can't really do anything in the moment to really, you know, bring out the, or like to power farm and like get himself ahead. So it's like, okay, well he's just gonna go everywhere else.
Yep. And I mean, it's also, I gotta eat my words on Dokla. Like,
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
He's playing good, and I apologize. I was a consummate non-believer in Big Dokes. Like, you could call me that. You could genuinely probably call me a hater. And he has far surpassed everything I believed he could do. And I honestly thought Palafox would just kind of like always be just a guy who happened to play mid at LCS. But I ain't gonna lie, he's popped off too. Like, they're kind of all there. They're kind of all just there now. And I don't even know what you do, because they're kind of, I don't know, they're playing insane. And it's like one of those things where like most of my LCS watching in life has been like seeing them be kind of the punching bags.
Yep.
Of like a lot of like almost there. Sometimes they make a run, then they get put back in their place type of deal. That's usually what it was. And now they're like kind of the saving grace of NA at this point. Like, they literally are. Like, I'm almost like, oh my gosh, are these guys gonna get sold off for like insane money? Like, did NRG just get like an almost instant cash grab because is some other team gonna try to like buy them up, or does NRG just hold on to all of them?
I mean, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting because like if almost every team is blowing up because like the contract value is dropping, like you don't know what's gonna happen, and they could go elsewhere. But like the biggest thing that I just want to see from players is I want to see the mentality of we care about growing as a region and developing. And like don't go somewhere for the bag at this point. Go somewhere because you genuinely believe that like this is the group of 5 guys that you believe can be at the top of the league. Not just because it looks great on paper, but because you genuinely believe like constructing it together, it's going to fit the mold that it needs to. Like I think it. I don't think. I hope that we are past the era of LCS where it's just like we think these five guys will play well together and we're just gonna go with that. Because whatever we've been doing in tryouts and like our method of constructing rosters up to this point is horrendous.
Yeah.
Every team that is currently not NRG lacks cohesion. And I would say the same thing about EG had they not had. I mean, EG is the biggest case of what if that we'll ever
Yeah.
see in our lives. Like that was a baby project from Peter Dunn of like knowing that Danny was coming up, knowing that Jojo Puma was going to be there, like keeping the pieces of Impact and Vulcan there. That is like, okay, this is gonna roll into the next thing. That it's just a matter of getting the right jungler at the time, which for them wasn't contracts, but was Inspired, and Inspired was playing incredibly well. But it's just like that type of building. Unfortunately, it collapsed, and there were other bigger internal issues there. But like,
Yeah.
I want to see more of that. I
Yep.
really do. It started with 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves did it back in 2020 when they bought out the Golden Guardians roster and then just changed one piece, upgraded it, and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden you have three back-to-back finals. Granted, they didn't win, unfortunately, barring the first one, but it is what it is. Then you have EG, kind of going down the same route, but unfortunately you have management that, fucking tosses that one in the trash. And then now you have NRG who's been quietly building for 2 years. That it's like,
Yep.
when are teams going to learn that it seems like the stability comes with just having a core that can play together over a longer period of time and not giving up whenever things simply don't go their way. Like at
Yep.
least with 100 Thieves, did they get smoked or did they not? They didn't get smoked. They went 3-3 at Worlds 2021. And I give them credit, even though we bombed out the year afterwards. They gave it a shot at running it back and went 1-5, and that sucks. Sure, but at least they tried. And you're not going to have every team that does this work out. But when it does, I think the highs are going to be higher than we would see otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. And it kind of makes me, because I want to see JoJo like off of EG
Same.
in general, just because like I'm kind of worried we're wasting his Wonder Years, and I'm kind of just pulling for either 100 Thieves or C9 to buy him out. Like at this point, like somebody has to, and I really hope EG will let him be bought out. I don't think they will, because if there's any org that like is as, it's not a better way to really say it, is scummy as them, to know that their
That's the right
back
way to
is
do it.
against the wall and they're gonna keep him held hostage as long as they can to suck every amount of ad revenue they can get off of him and relevancy. Like it's gonna be them. But I just don't. I really wish they'd let him go so he could get more competitive league in.
Yeah.
Like, because knowing JoJo's back there, watching Insanity have this run where he actually played good league for like a solid amount of time, kind of makes you wonder, do we have a lot of mids? And obviously, we don't have to get too into it because it's not off-season time, it's World's time.
I mean,
But Immortals has already
yeah,
started the train.
that's it. No,
Yeah.
it's worth the conversation because there's a lot of vitriol on both sides of this.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on the move?
I I get why they did it, because for the most part he makes sense. He's coming from Europe, so he should be learning English or something like that. He knows how to learn a language. But if there is an org that is not built to actually help an import come into our culture and understand it, and then they also just sign our mayo after it, it's like, what, like, you're gonna sign this promising mid and then go sign a jungler that we've seen play on like 8 teams at this point and fail on all of them. Like, what is the point? It just kind of pissed me off after that. Like, at first with the mid laner, not a huge deal, I can let it go. Didn't love it, but it is what it is. But then seeing them sign him, like, no hate to the guy, but you're not trying to win if you're signing him. Like you're just
I
not.
I can't say that I fully agree with that. My biggest thing is for EG, I just don't think they had the coaching or support systems in place at all. Clearly, like
Hmm.
it felt like there was a little. They weren't improving as time went on. Like once they hit their cap, they hit their cap, and like that was it. And it didn't feel like there were these moments where like you saw growth throughout the year. That it's like I guess this run and just the results in general lately are just making me think more about like coaching and infrastructure than on the individual players, because we've seen Armeo play incredibly well and be one of the better facilitators in the game, barring his obvious health issues with his wrist. That it's like I actually do think Armeo's a really good pickup for them, depending on who else they put around him. But like you said, if you're just putting them in there with a head coach and that's it, I don't know. I really don't. Like the biggest problem that I have is just like I feel like everybody everybody is focusing on the fact that we don't have talent in North America. I would say we
Hmm.
don't have refined talent. I feel like
Fair.
we've got players that can get to that level and be good, but they take time and investment. They take
Hmm.
resources that you actually have to put into them, and not just putting resources around them, putting resources legitimately into them in the form of making sure they get proper
Yeah.
positional coaching, making sure they can fix some of these things that they need to work on. But like I I don't know. I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt there to the players at this point. Like there's not many players that I think I'd look at and just be like, okay, you're showing some pretty egregious problems. Quid would be one of them that I look at, and it's just like I don't get this at all. But like Armeo, I'm 100% a fan of giving him a chance with a proper
Would you
coaching
take him
staff.
on 100 Thieves?
Yeah, with the right with the with
What?
the right with the right
Wow.
staff around him, I think I would.
Okay. Fair enough.
As
I
long
just
as
feel
he's
like
healthy.
he
Like it's
always
I worry about him being like an Aaron Rodgers situation where it's just like
I yeah, he always flares out. That's kind of my problem with him. Now I know, like I get it, people are probably not gonna love me saying that because it's injuries that's taking him out every time, but it's like I've just seen enough of him. Now I know I was saying this about Dokla too, but at the time when I would say that about Dokla, I was kind of bantering, and Dokla was at least holding his own in top lane as around fifth. You know what I mean? He was
yeah.
always a mid-level top to me, and that's where I thought his peak would be, and then he ascended. I've seen Grig have some moments of I'm gonna call him Grig because that's what I remember him as. But I remember he had moments of like you would think he could make almost break top four, and you'd be like, maybe he is there, but he always seems to find a way to go back down.
I mean, wasn't that contracts though?
Yeah,
Contracts did the same thing where it's just like, bro,
yeah,
you're running it.
that's true.
You're literally running it
That's
down. What are
true.
you doing? And it's just like you sit there and you doubt their mechanical ability. That it's just like, okay, this guy just he doesn't have the hands to keep up,
Fair.
but clearly he does. It's like this whole thing, like
Yeah.
regardless of whether we made like top 8 or not, the NRG experiment has just I feel like refined in me that it's like I've got to stop blaming the players as much.
Mhm.
And I legitimately just believe it's a terrible fucking system that we've got set up for all the players and individuals to like bring out the best in them. And we're not scouting properly to make sure the right players get put in the right systems, because
Yeah.
Danny is not going to do well in an environment like Evil Geniuses had. But if
Mhm.
Danny was on a different team that might have been a little bit more accommodating, maybe things would have been different. Who knows? Like you don't, and that's like
I just don't know. I've seen Grig has been in like every system almost except C9 and
yeah.
CLG, NRG, and now. But like you are right, like there is coaching that can help save somebody, but it's just he's always a really good academy guy. And then I mean, because the thing is, EG, as much hate as we give them and all this, their coaching is not their issue. Like Kelsey Moser is pretty high speed, or at least like she can put people in the right positions. Like she was making Revenge look good, she was making Unforgiven look good, and
That's
JoJo.
that's not real. I get what you're saying, but I think it's slightly different. Kelsey Moser's only one person, and can
That's true.
only has so much time to watch VODs and go over footage. She's
Yeah.
one person doing one job. The reason why NRG has the reason why positional coaches in theory work, but I've been so against it for a long period of time is because for the longest time it just felt like you were putting people in positions to like make sure they still had a paycheck. We had never seen like actual tangible results of like players getting better directly due to positional coaching. At
Mhm.
least not on a consistent level. That's like now you look at this and it's like, okay, well, what if Kelsey Moser like it really is good at being like the mastermind and head of personnel at EG?
Yeah.
And she's given the resources to actually hire positional coaches and like get people in roles to help Jojo Pune level up even further beyond where he's at, beyond just grinding and trying to become a leader of the goddamn team, and putting resources into Armeo or Revenge. Revenge, as you pointed out, like he shows times where he can be capable against top players, but then just has moments where it's not clicking. Where it's like,
Yeah.
I look at that as like, okay, well, what if they had a top lane coach? What if they had somebody that was like specifically working with him and drilling with him things that he needs to get done to improve individually, and then taking that into the team environment where Kelsey's doing that? Like, it's the same reason why you have QB coaches and an offensive coordinator and a head coach. Like, you have these people that
Mhm.
somebody's thinking about the game in one way, somebody else on the team is thinking about the game in another way, and as long as it all bridges together at some point and all the coaching staff is on the same page and trying to get to the same goal, then it works. But
That's a
if
good point.
people are disjointed, if you don't have the resources to add that extra cog in and make
Mhm.
sure it flows smoothly, like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I guess that makes me feel a bit more at ease with the Immortals change. I mean, I was cool with the mid lane grab because in general, I think he's fine. I know a lot of people are upset about it.
See, that the mid lane part is where I actually take issue. Not
Okay.
because he's imported. Like, I want to defeat that stereotype now because there's too much on Twitter of like it has
Yeah.
to be North America. It's like, no,
People are
it doesn't.
forgetting that this NRG roster has max imports.
No, they don't.
I mean,
By
FBI
yeah,
and
I mean,
Ignar.
sure, but like FBI's been here. Like FBI, here's my thing. FBI is
I know
proof
he's
of an
homegrown.
import that is going to stay here for an extended period of time
Yeah, yeah.
and wants to be here. We have no proof yet that Immortals is able to scout somebody and bring them in and put them in a system where they want to stay in North America for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
That's where I have a problem with this.
Mhm.
Because it's not anything against him as a mid laner and as an individual. It's against the system that he's potentially going into. Where if you have a North American mid laner, if you have like somebody younger on that scale, or even older, like just a North American player in general, if the Immortal system chews them up and spits them out, it spits them out back into North America. And either somebody else can pick them up. Like, they're probably not going to go to Europe. They'll probably go back down into Academy and like try and work their way up onto a better team. And the same way that Dokla comes into Optic, like does all he can, but gets spit back out to Academy and Amateur, and he grinds his way up. Whereas if Dokla was an import from a different region, he'd go back home and he'd
Mhm.
go back to his domestic system or challenger system there, and then work his way back up there. So it's like you're removing the element of these players will fail, and making sure that when they fail, they stay here and contribute to our systems, that's important to me. And I don't have faith that that's going to happen here. So for me, if you're going to import, you need to import in one of two ways. It either needs to be a berserker level, young, like fresh out of challenger, coming over here to like literally make his career in the LCS. Because Berserker's only time playing prior to this was T1 challenger, or like T1 youth program. The second he could like step up, he was behind Guma. It makes sense to come to Cloud9. This guy's been in challenger for like 4 years.
Has he? Mask?
Yeah. 3 years, I think, since 2020. So it's like, this isn't a fresh face. And that worries me because it's like, okay, if he comes over here and doesn't do well, he's familiar enough with their systems and like ingrained enough in LCK culture that it's like, unless he really wants to come over here because he values the LCS and competing for us specifically, I find that hard to believe. Because what reason do we have for import players to come over here right now and stay with us long term? What actual reason do we have?
Easier way to get to Worlds.
Sure.
I know that's a.
But like, if your goal is to be the best in the world,
yeah,
like that's what all these players, their goal should be. Is like, I want to be the best fucking player in the world, and I want to represent my region, my country, or not even just my country, but like I want to represent my people. When times get tough, I'm not convinced that they're gonna stay. Like Berserker's gonna be my all eyes on this offseason.
That's what I was gonna
Does he
ask
stay?
you.
If he doesn't stay, then it's like,
I was gonna ask, is
man,
Berserker, like, do you think he is the siren, like the warning bell for if an import comes over and doesn't get the success they want, that they'll just leave? Is that like a bad thing to you? Is that really worrisome to you?
Yeah, very.
It is.
If you're gonna,
because I'm thinking imports that have stuck around really is all I can think of is like Someday, FBI. You have the obvious ones like Svenskeren,
Core JJ,
Core JJ, Santorin, Jensen, Bjergsen. But like, who else? Because most of these guys I named were on really good teams when they started out. Like, they were winning a lot when they came over here.
How many imports do you know that came over to anything below?
Impact too.
I mean, again, but Impact comes over and he's on a top team. Like, name an import that came over and struggled the first year and stuck around.
Phoenix.
Exactly.
Not a good one.
But that's my point, is like, that's why I have such a problem with this. That it's like,
I see what you're saying.
If you're not even a new, if you're a shitty team in the LCS, you should always be looking domestic to start.
Yeah.
And then your imports are the people that you plug in after you've got your core.
Mm-hmm.
You don't build around the imports at that level. That to me is just bad roster building, because you're not, the odds of them sticking around are slim to none so far, at least. So Piosik and Summit are likely gone. I don't see any world where, well, Summit I don't think people want by choice, but I think Piosik, like, I think he's going to get offers from LCK teams, and he's going to take it.
More than likely.
So it's like, that's my issue with it. And like, it's not, I don't want people to take that as like I'm against importing. I'm very clearly for importing. But like, my philosophy on how you properly import is different than what these bottom teams are doing. If I'm a bottom 5 team in the LCS, or like I know that I'm projected to be, I'm not importing barely at all, if any. like maybe one guy, like to help bring like a veteran voice or maybe like a younger player that we want like to try and maybe like build a core. But like we need to like if you're gonna bring them over, you have to be committed to like their long-term growth and development. Like,
I mean, that's what NRG did, I guess, 2 years ago. Like when they were CLG, they didn't import. They just went Dokla, Palafox, contracts, and then you can call Luger and Poom an imported
but
bottom lane.
they've been
They were
here for a while
they'd
with
been
100
here
Thieves.
forever. So
And
yeah,
Poom is also
they
Canadian,
really.
so he is North America.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So it was
And
just Luger.
yeah, and Luger wasn't even really didn't feel like an import at that point.
No.
He'd been around forever. And you're right, it worked out. Like they got all of them. They kind of had their aches and pains, whatever. They worked their way up, and then they saw a chance to go get a different bottom lane that they thought could upgrade them. Did it, and weren't really importing even still. Like Ignar's been in NA or EU for so long at this point. I wouldn't really call him one, and
Yeah.
FBI has felt American for how long now, and it worked out. Like so, what you're saying. There's already been an example of. The question won't be does it work more than once, and do teams have 2 years that they're willing to wait?
That's the biggest problem. Teams don't.
Which I will say is kind of tough to say because the organization that started this process did run out of money and had to sell.
Yeah.
So that's another story for another day. But,
Can I also ask you this question?
yeah.
Next year, do you want best of threes?
Yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I think best of threes create a better league. And more days. I want random like more days. Like give me if we're not getting weekends, I want Tuesday through like Friday, dude.
Yeah, I'm
Or
with
Wednesday through Friday. Like just be playing all the time. Like at this point, do it like China. I want games everywhere I can get them.
you. Yeah.
And I don't care if some of them are streams. Like, I don't really. I mean, I'm sure Immortals
You have to have
Dig
all
would
of
be
them
mad,
streamed.
but no, I meant like I meant in studio. My bad. In person. Like, if you got to put Immortals Dig on a stream because nobody's watching it, then fine. Go low budget. Tell these orgs like, hey, you either get a watch party going or you get something going that gives us a reason to put this on the main, and we will.
I'm
And you
not
do it that way.
I'm not the biggest fan of splitting it up that far. Like LCK,
Mm-hmm.
they do what, three days a week of games? Or four?
Yeah, 3, I think.
Three, and then 2 teams play, or 4 teams play each day, correct?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. So you'll have one team that plays twice, or you'll have 2 teams that play twice in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So then if you do that, what? 5 times over 5 weeks? That's double round robin. Isn't it? Or that's 10 series, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know how the math would have to work.
I'm not 100% certain, but like at the end of the day, Worlds has convinced me that we need best of threes.
Yeah.
And best of ones are just like it's a best of ones I don't mind whenever there's scheduling constraints. Like for example, like the first 2 rounds of Swiss being best of ones. Perfectly fine with that. Because 1, it's utter chaos, but 2, like it's more or less just to get like seeding for like the important ones, which are like the elimination and promotion games. And like to get you in a spot where like you need to start climbing to either get out or like leave. And it's just those 2 days of chaos are fun, but I wouldn't want that every single time because it would feel meaningless. The best of threes just felt so good. And there's no world where I want to see next year us do like best of 1 double round robin again. I'll lose my fucking mind if we have to do that after watching everything else that we've seen. It's just like, come on. Best of threes are so much better. And if you got a problem with Immortals being like the lowest view games, That's on fucking Immortals. It's not my
Mhm.
problem to watch Immortals play. It's my problem to watch the team that I enjoy play. It's not my obligation to tune in for fucking the entire time.
Mhm.
Which the problem is, I know that's how the LCS is thinking as well. Because that's why they put us on weekdays, because they're like, oh, 10 hours of League is too much. Like, we're expecting you to watch 5 hours of League so that you're watching every game. It's like, my expectation should be to watch the 3 hours for my team, and that's it.
Mhm. Yep. It's yeah, they need to change that whole dynamic because they're like I remember them like it being a thing that TSM kept getting put at the end of days. That this was back in the day when like TSM actually mattered.
Yeah.
And they would put them at the end of the days. Now they do it with Cloud9. And it's like and people would just call it a TSM or Cloud9 waiting room. And it's like you can't make a league off that. Like as funny as the meme is, and as much as you want it to work, it doesn't work. The other org should be like taking that to heart. That should be like on their marketing guys, like their social media guys, like whiteboard, in his room. It should be like people calling us a waiting room game. Like we need to be the reason they're there. Like
Yeah.
you should really be upset about that. Like that shouldn't be something that's memeable, and it should be making them worried more than anything, because you can't have fans like from other teams holding up another team. Like Immortal should not expect you, a 100 Thieves fan, or me, a TSM fan, or whatever I'll be. It won't be them to go watch their games. Like that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's just dumb. Like.
And
And I'm
also,
not gonna go watch EG games or
no.
EG games unless I want to watch JoJo.
And I'm gonna call fucking 100 Thieves out on this because somebody brought it to my attention. Even though I was thinking about it a week ago, I didn't say anything. I was just waiting for like Worlds to get done. I didn't want to like flame, but like this week it kind of turned into like the everybody kind of letting their shit out in between games. A good example of why teams will never fucking learn about this is the fact that we have no content that's been put out during Worlds
Mhm.
whatsoever. There was one like Subway challenge sponsor thing, but we refuse to put out anything that's not fucking sponsored. That's
Yeah,
bullshit. You want to make sure you have fans going into next year beyond just the people that are residual double it fans or like the diehard 100 Thieves fans. Like you actually want to grow a fandom. You put Sniper and Tenacity, who you signed as a content creator, you have them put out content each week.
yeah,
400 Thieves League of Legends, explaining worlds to Jack or to Ray or to Nate Shot and like walking them through the individual things and just sitting there shooting the shit and bullshitting on like a 15-minute podcast each week or just like a short thing that you can cut down to like 20, 30 minutes, reacting to the world's draws, the world's
mm,
songs, like everything. You don't have to co-stream, but just like be present, be around, put out
yep,
something. And like then people will be like, oh, okay, well, I like these guys during Worlds time when they were doing all that stuff. Why don't I watch them while they're actually playing in LCS? Because now, like, I got to know them while they were doing this stuff and got to know their
yeah.
thoughts on League. Now I'll just actually, like, watch them play. But no, we put out fucking nothing. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing to grow a brand in League of Legends right now? And the answer is fucking nothing. And I'm pissed
Yeah.
because it's like I'm sitting here as a 100 Thieves fan who wants to see this org grow, who wants to see us become what TSM once was in this scene. You cannot do that without putting some fucking content out there. So just do it. You don't need a sponsor. It's just good for the brand. Do
Mhm.
it.
I mean, at this point, somebody has to take the mantle of like TS7 CLG pulled 500K on a regular season game, like, and it was called El Clasico, and they're gone. That's over. Like, and even better, NRG has shown the new era is here.
Yep.
Like, they've proven it by winning games and giving NA hope. So this has to be a thing that gets built off of, and I'm kind of with you on that because it's like NRG isn't gonna build a rivalry with TL or C9. That's just not how I think people want it to work. and I don't think that's how an LCS fan would want it to be. I think like there needs to be an org that decides to pit themselves against them, and what better than shooters? Like, I don't know why you guys want to go after them, but also it's like I've only seen Immortals post a meme about G2, and Immortals was getting clowned on for it in the comments. People just kept posting LCS standings and calling them a dog tier org, asking them to sell their team. Like, that's all that happened. So, when the only org to actually kind of come in and start throwing punches with NRG is Immortals, like, it's not gonna float. It's
But
not gonna help the scene.
the thing is, it
Like,
can't.
and it's good though. Immortals is doing
No,
that, by the way.
it is good. I don't want to take anything away from that, but like, it can't just be tweets.
Yep.
It can't be. You got to do something else. Like, that's the part that I don't think these teams, these orgs like understand anymore. Is like, we want relatability. We want somebody that we feel like we can talk to. Like, you might call it an unhealthy parasocial relationship, but guess what? At least you have something. Better that
Yep.
than nothing. Like, just if you're gonna meme about it as a 10th place team, also put out some other content that like
Mhm.
shows that you have a brand identity, that you have values, that you have these things that it's like, okay, you're also part of NA and can dunk on Europe, but like this is what we ultimately come back to.
Yeah.
But they've got nothing. And like I just more and more I just constantly feel like I don't know what's going on inside these teams that's preventing it. Because there's no way that if I'm thinking this, that somebody else isn't as well.
Uh,
And if I truly am one of the few thinking that way, where's my job? Like, that's the
I
other.
mean, I think they're right now. It's like I don't know. NA League just seems in the spot of like pretty much complacency,
Bingo.
and a lot of people thought the league was going to die. So I think owners were kind of worried about that there. But then all of a sudden, like Shopify bought a spot, and I can tell you that guy, like it's lucky, right? He's not doing this to just waste his time. He probably actually enjoys League a little bit. Andy Miller came in and actually gave a shit, and it
Nice.
scared people to half to death because when he came in and he was like just pissing on people and doing what he does. Like he started kicking ass, and people are like, "You can't just have 8 coaches on a roster. That's not monetarily feasible." And he went, "Well, go fuck yourself." And then he did it anyways. He was like, "I will," and they were all like, "Oh, you can't just have 8 coaches on a roster that win the league with like inferior players, quote unquote." And it like shocked people, and now like all these dudes are coming in who want to win League of Legends again, and nobody knows what to do with themselves because the lower orgs still have like one coach and a strategic coach, and there's no way Dig and Immortals are ever gonna win doing that, and there's no way they're gonna attract players doing that. But at the same time, on the other side, you have this brand new guys who don't really have a ton of fans yet, but something tells me like a lot of TSM fans are going to gravitate towards
Yeah,
these newer guys
Shopify.
because they seem to care and they're spending money, and that's
But
just going to pull people in.
but more importantly, they're spending money smart. Like, this is the thing that
True.
I tried telling people back whenever NRG joined the league, and I gave countless examples and warnings of like, look, NRG in every esport that they've entered has done a phenomenal job of building systems that bring them championships. It happened in Rocket
Mhm.
League, it happened in Overwatch, and now in their first season, it's happened with NRG. Now, granted, they picked up a lot of the pieces of CLG, who did a phenomenal job of laying out the base structure. They just needed cash injection to be able to, fully make it come to fruition. But here's the thing: just injecting cash into that, ask Sentinels, who are pumping in $3.4 million to a fucking broken system. Have fun with that one, Lena.
Mhm.
But they like you're getting that cash injection so you can make a change, so that you can create a more sustainable system, because the only way to make money is to spend money, but you have to then make money, is the important part. Like, that's ultimately the goal. So for
Yep.
NRG's case, they spent money on the coaches, the infrastructure, and everything else there.
Hmm.
But guess what? They're also putting out content. And they're doing a lot
Yep.
of the things that very few others are trying to do in new or innovative ways that can potentially lead to them making more money down the line. That's like
Yep.
Shopify coming in. I hope they do something different. I hope they do something unique besides just coming in and wanting to win that gives them like a personality, a brand, and something that you can build a sustainable ecosystem on. But like the old head orgs just doing the same fucking thing every year. It's like, ooh, you change that like C9. I know I go hard on them, or no, I'll go hard on TL this time because
Okay.
I don't want to just I
I
don't
was
want to
gonna
just pick.
say
I've really been picking on C9, and I gotta stop.
another Dave C9.
I know. I'll go on Team Liquid. What have they like? They did the series this year with Jat like reviewing like historical plays with
Mm,
Whippo and with Core JJ and Han Sama and all that. Sure. What's next? What other content
mm,
are you going to keep doing? Like, you're in terms of the players that they're getting, it feels like the same system of just like, bring in new guys. If they don't work, kick them out after a year, try it all over again, which makes it
mhm.
impossible to build storylines. So,
Not
like,
working.
your content is entirely focused on things
Yup.
that are not directly related to your players in the current moment. Like, you bought out Piosik, you're able to, monetize on like rewatching how he won worlds. Or like Core JJ, you've had him here for how many years? It's like, okay, we're rewatching the 4-year-old clips that like you've talked about in squads quite a few times.
Mhm.
Like, okay. Like, you gotta do something new. You gotta find a way to bring out these personalities to keep a consistent roster. Like, you have to change something up. You cannot keep doing the TL format that you've had for the last few years and expect
Yep.
shit to be any different next year. If you care about the league, if you care about the fans, if you care about growing this ecosystem to a point where it is sustainable and everybody's actually making money, you have to
Mm.
fucking do something different. You cannot do the same shit over and over and over again. And I know I'm getting a little bit repetitive on that, but like, it has to keep being said because we keep doing the same stuff.
And their intros, like on TL, were not bad. Like that was an innovative idea, but the only problem with it was like, and I was a huge, huge supporter of this. I will not lie. I was a big person of like winning solves all problems. Doesn't matter if you get a bunch of imports. Who cares? And then TL proved me wrong because they had all these imports. They were putting some wins in. They ended up with third place. That's not even that bad. And I could not buy into any of them. I really didn't care about their imports. I still enjoy Core JJ and like APA and Yan, but Summit and Piosik were not really winning me over. And there wasn't any content they could really do with those two. And when you can only do content with a third with three of the five of your guys, it's just not going to work. And they're a team that could like use a Spica and Impact. Like go
Yeah.
to FlyQuest, tell them we'll take your baggage and move on because they need to move like you were saying last year, and I doubted. They really do need to move more towards English speaking because it's just not working when like what is their because I can't remember their social media guy's name,
Oh god.
but he's actually really good at social media.
The
Is
TL
Ben
guy or
something? Yeah.
oh, Ben Zipper or Ben Zipper.
Yes.
Yeah.
He actually like understands social media really well
Yeah.
and he's really good at it. And he knows like TikTok trends and stuff, but you can't hemorrhage your social media guy for a North American LCS team and you only give him Korean speaking people or like a Korean speaking roster for most of the year.
Like what I think it was Degon or somebody on Power Spike was talking about this morning. They're like, well, after the or it might have been Degon that asked him like they asked APA what were vibes like what was the meeting like after you lost? Like what was the atmosphere like? He's like, I don't fucking know. They were speaking in all Korean. And I was just like, bro, no.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that you can build a franchise player out of
No.
somebody that walks back into his locker room and has no fucking clue what's going on.
Hmm.
That's not sustainable in North America at all. Like, I'm sorry, but just like, no. I
Like
feel,
maybe in soccer, because there's so many like players, right?
yeah.
Like you can do that.
But you're also
But in
not
League of
like,
Legends where there's five
also
and
like with
there's
soccer, like, how often are you sitting there like actually like talking to the person where you need to understand it? Like, soccer is such a commonly spoken
true,
language that's just like,
true.
you don't have to fully speak the same language. It's important in terms of like team bonding and getting on the same page, which
Yeah.
clearly, by the way, was TL's biggest fucking issue.
Hmm.
Uh, like, if I'm APA, like, I'm happy that I got my LCS start. I'm praying to God that I'm on any roster that just like can allow me to like work with my team and get better individually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't. It was just like, are you kidding? Like that when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this isn't working. Like this idea just does not function in North American League. I mean, I already kind of saw it not work with TSM, like when we tried to do that,
Yeah.
and it was like so hard to follow the team. I was like getting to the point where I was like, dude, the fact you have to watch Legends with subtitles on is kind of insane.
Bro, I know.
Like,
Like that, and that goes to something that was put in chat there. Like, Ben tried to make content with like the Korean speaking team, like where he's learning Korean. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm not like,
that's the
I
point.
don't
That
want the
shouldn't be happening.
I don't want this to come off wrong, because like, sure, like learning other languages is good and shit. That's not fun content to me. Me learning a basic fucking word.
Hmm.
I
I mean, that's not fun to your League of Legends audience.
No, and that's the
Like,
people like I that's not interesting. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, I can go on fucking Duolingo and do the same
mhm.
thing. It's like, no, like give me
or
give me an
or
give
you
me
have to be literal dogs, like IG was back in the day when they were playing with pings
yeah.
with Rookie and the Shy. Like that is the only time in League of Legends I can think of when that worked. But that was like because they just had five of the most cracked players in the world,
Yeah.
like at the time, and that just doesn't happen all the time. Like that'll probably never happen again if we're being honest, that you could have a team where they legitimately can't two of the players can't understand the other three and they still annihilate for a whole world's turn. Like that's just not how the game functions. It's there's a lot of communication. You'd think they'd have voice chat, but there's a lot of communication that has to be had with speaking and understanding each other's opinions, asking somebody why they want to play this way, then maybe trying to understand them and adapting the way you want to play.
Yep.
But instead, they're subtweeting each other on
Oh,
TL, which is insane.
that would
Subtweeting. And they're subtweeting the rookie.
I mean,
Like,
I said it on Twitter, and I noticed like APA's parents interact with like a lot of the stuff that I put on social media, including like the videos I put out, like hyping up NRG and shit like that. They stayed far away from my tweet on that one. There was no like, no comment on anything.
yeah,
But I still believe this of like, there needs to be more fights in esports. Of just like, you do something like that, you're getting punched. Like, like, say that shit to my face. Like, seriously, you got a problem with me? Don't air it out on Twitter. We're teammates. Like, we fight behind the scenes. We fight. Bless you. We
thank you.
we fight together. But the only person that you should ever be shit talking on social media is another team or player that's not on TL.
Yeah,
But like, if that's me, whether you call it having bad temper or not, I'm going back, taking the nearest chair and slamming it into a wall to prove to like start the conversation and be like, fucking look.
yeah.
And he's not gonna understand half of the shit that you're
Yeah,
saying,
I
but
was about to say, you can't. Bro, you'd smash the chair into the wall, say, listen here, you piece of shit, and then he'd look at you and be like, what's any of that mean? But he'd say it in Korean.
Oh God.
Like it just wouldn't work. Like
Just like snap the clipboard in half and be like, huh.
like they I do hope though, like people realize from this TL experience that it's not the way to go. Like, because I was one who did learn it. Like, because I was like
Yeah.
really fine with this, like up until now. But now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, you, unless you can somehow buy, which nobody can,
Nope, not anymore.
realistically buy the best like players in the world, and I mean like best. Like, if you wanted to go buy Ruler and Chovy, then fine. I will retake this statement back. But unless you can do that, I don't see how it's worth sacrificing your entire fan base being alienated to try to win, especially LCS.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't think winning LCS and nobody knowing who anybody is on your team is worth that.
Yep.
Now, people would have been happy for Core JJ,
Sure.
but ultimately, TL is going down the same road that a lot of orgs have gone, where Core JJ is when he leaves, what is their future?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't. They
because
burn.
it seems like everybody is a Core JJ fan.
Yeah, because he's been the only consistent part.
Hmm.
They burn through everybody else. What
Yeah,
other role do they have that has remained consistent?
have to keep mid and ADC. Like, you have to keep Yon and APA
I
at
think
this
so
point,
too. Like I think you have to build around those two.
or the fans are just gonna, unless you can replace him with JoJo. Like at that
Uh,
point, it's no question. Only because he's JoJo,
yeah.
right? Like that's the only reason we think that. But if you can do that, fine. But if you can't replace him with JoJo,
There's no
what
point.
do you gain from
Yeah.
going and grabbing some LEC guy?
Nothing.
And please don't go grab an LCK prodigy
Like
again
that.
for the billionth time.
My thing as well is you touched on it with the money. Is like we also can't afford that anymore.
No,
And it's like
no.
in a world where money now matters, and you are playing Moneyball with every single roster and every single move that you make.
Yeah.
North American players are going to be your best bang for your buck, especially
Yep.
now that I promise you this year is going to flush out all the people that are in it for the cash.
Oh yeah.
Now it's just going to be the people that are genuinely in it for the love of the game.
Hmm.
And it's like, I personally, I think this offseason, I can't wait to see what happens. And 100 Thieves, don't let me down. Don't make me, don't make me eat any of my words here. Please, I swear to God. I think this is going to be the year that we finally start to see people make decisions that are for the betterment of long-term LCS.
Hmm.
At least, hopefully, from the top 6. We'll see.
I'm genuinely debating picking up 100 Thieves solely for Sniper.
Do it.
But I can't decide because the part of me is like, ugh, do I want to give in to like you and a lot of people and cheer for a team that I've so longed trash talked for one player who I genuinely do believe in?
Well, let me ask you this, and I'll use this as the promotional clip for the podcast. I sent an email out to Sniper himself 2 weeks ago asking if he would be down to do a weekly interview series similar to how Pat McAfee does with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh
I'm
wow.
willing to give him any money that I make from those videos for him just to come on and we talk for 30 minutes every week about whatever. It
Mhm.
doesn't even have to be league. You're very familiar with how Pat McAfee and Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers do their
yeah.
thing. Similar thing, where it's just like, I want to come on, like, you are at the start of your career and I'm expecting you to have longevity here.
Hmm.
Let's just talk it doesn't even have to be during the off season, just during the regular season and during like the busy stretches. We talk every single week and it becomes a consistent form of content that you can grow a personality around. We can grow a personality around. Like that is something that is mutually beneficial for everybody. And the series of it I was going to call in scope with Sniper or like scoped in with Sniper or like something like that.
Yeah.
Like the playing on like
I
the
get it. That's pretty
yeah,
good.
or
I like
like
that.
zoomed in with I don't know, something along the lines of that. He hasn't responded to the email, so Sniper, publicly putting this out there to you, your agent, and anybody else there that might be able to help with this. Let's make it happen. You let me know any accommodations you need from me. I ain't got that much money. I'm telling you that now. I got like my videos make a couple dollars, so I got a couple dollars for you. But we can grow something here in North America, so it's all yours. If you want it, myself, if you want Paul here, great. I will gladly have him here. So it's the three of us and we can chat. If you don't want him and you find him ugly, that's fine. We can kick him out. It's just you and me.
I'm
Doesn't
okay
matter.
with that.
He's a handsome guy, though. I'm just saying.
I'll watch from the sidelines. It's
But
sometimes what it takes.
I think that would be incredible. Like I think that like
That
because we don't
would be
have that.
insane.
We have nothing like that. Where it's like, sure, you had like the closest thing you had was you had like Double Lift and Travis Gafford when both of them were coming up, and like they
Yep.
both catapulted themselves to that level. And
Hmm.
Pat and Aaron, even though Aaron's already big, like they're doing a
Yeah,
similar
yeah.
thing where it's like going up. And it's like, why not do it again?
Yeah.
And like Travis can't do that with somebody new because let's be honest, it won't be. I don't think it will be as genuine. Where it's like Sniper is going to be the face of Hunter Thieves. I am a
Yeah.
diehard Hunter Thieves fan. There is a genuine level of interest and respect there, at least from my side towards him,
Hmm.
that he knows that he'll get.
And you are until Optic shows back up,
Yeah.
which they could.
That
But even then,
we'll
I
deal
think
with that
that's
bridge
gonna
when we
be.
cross it.
I feel like that's gonna be tougher for you than you make it seem.
Oh, I know it's gonna be tougher. It depends on there be
Because the
a
more the years go,
yeah. The more you get
the
tied in with the
lonelier it
brand.
gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. It also depends on like my big thing would be Joey, which for those that don't know, Joey runs the socials at Optic Gaming. Uh,
Hmm.
I would be a fan no matter what. I couldn't stop myself from following Optic's League of Legends team, regardless.
Yep.
Like even if I pull for both of them. Uh, but oh, that's a really tough question. I don't know. I'm choosing to ignore that for the time being. What happens if Sniper
That's
underperforms the
fair.
first year and gets yeeted out? If he gets yeeted out after one bad year, then I'm sorry, but we as Hunter Thieves have failed as an organization. That is
100%.
entirely on us. So no, I don't expect it.
100%.
Even if he's the worst top laner in the league, then we get a positional coach.
Yep.
And we get somebody to help him out because he is the star of our franchise for the next 10 years. And I
Yep.
refuse to believe anything otherwise.
That if I mean if he doesn't work out, it's just kind of
It's over
you
for
just
100
keep
Thieves.
trying. You keep trying. Like you don't. I feel like you can't give up on him
No.
within. You give him 3 years almost.
Yeah, I think 3 years
Let's say
is
like.
more than enough. After 3 years, then I'm willing to say, yeah, the ship has sailed. But
Mhm.
I think 3 years is the absolute minimum that you can give a player on a franchise without like having decent room for him to grow. We only have 3 minutes left before I promised Emily that I would get off, and I
Oh
have a
god.
hard deadline, so we have to go over really quickly predictions for this weekend because the quarterfinal matchups are actually pretty close. So I want to know your thoughts on all the series and what do you think the final score is going to be. Sorry to jump ship everybody back to Worlds really quick, but we kind of have a team in it.
You're good. Do you want me to just run through them really fast?
Yeah, give me your full thoughts.
All right. Gen G wins probably like 3-1, 3-2. I just think they're playing better league right now. Uh, Billy's been kind of weak, or hasn't been looking as good as I thought they were. And then NRG Weibo, I'm gonna go NRG 3-2. I think it's gonna be a long, drawn out fight, and NRG pulls. JDG 3-0's KT. That's just easy because JDG is that freaking good, and they're gonna shock everybody. And then sadly, LNG is gonna beat T1, and then they're gonna play JDG way too early, and I kind of hate that because that's the real finals to me. But that's life. And honestly, between Gen G and NRG, I love NA too. Don't get me wrong, but who gives a shit? Don't care. JG's gonna clear LNG like they always do, and then they're gonna clear whoever wins that game.
Who, if NRG in your scenario, who wins the NRG versus Gen G?
Genji.
Why?
I mean, I think Genji wins because Cho. So I know favorites never actually do this, but Chovy and Pays are like playing cracked right
Agreed.
now.
No, I completely agree with that. But let
And
me ask this: how many semifinals have Gen G won?
I know none. But how
Wow,
many of
really?
NRG won?
How many times have they lost to Gen G?
None.
They've never. How many times have the exactly? How many times have they lost to BLG?
Who? Genji?
No, NRG. Say BLG pulls off the upset over Gen G. How many times has
None.
NRG lost to BLG?
None.
How many times has NRG lost to JDG?
None.
Exactly. I don't want to hear it about
What is
who's
this?
better. They've never lost. You have no history to go on. It's flip of a
Well,
coin when you get into
the
the game.
good thing for NRG is they're more of a team fighting bunch.
Yeah.
They really shine in a team fight. And I am happy for them that JDG, good for them, isn't really that good at team fighting. I would say they're just okay. Maybe a best team ever at it. And so NRG should beat them if you think about it.
If I
Like,
if I'm NRG, I'm just scrimming JDG this entire. You're on the opposite side of the bracket. It's like,
bro,
bro, come on.
yeah,
Let's
you should, but I mean, and it doesn't break their mental. They're literally unbreakable. So,
exactly.
but like JDG's team fighting, bro, is like dumb. Were you
Yeah,
watching those games?
I was.
Like
I was.
they literally, bro, it doesn't even matter what the goal is. Like they are the definition of that meme where 5k gold down. I feel like we're even. I engage anyway.
So
Like,
basically, me at every time we play.
yes.
I respect that.
Except instead of you and me playing, it's a ruler to like
Dizzy Dave,
Knight and
Ruler,
Gaddafi.
Paul, Kanavi. I don't really see much of a difference if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Like, I think it's fine.
369 at the top lane. I mean,
Three,
honestly,
three. The
BLG.
only 369 that I know is the song, and
Oh my
as they
gosh.
say, to the window, to the wall. JDG will sweat until they fall.
Whatever.
I don't know what else to say.
I actually do think though, like LNGT1 is gonna be
The
so
best series.
close.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see it. Unless T1 like truly has like leveled up, like like if T1 3-0s them or like convincingly
Oh,
3-1s,
that'd be
I'm
crazy.
terrified for JDG because it's
I'm
just like
still not terrified.
I
I
am.
know that sounds
It was
crazy.
3-2 the last time they played, and the meta is shifting towards T1 style with Lux Caitlyn now in the mix as well. That's
Yeah, I just
terrifying.
don't care because I think JDG's better.
Okay, well,
I know like every analyst would be like, you can't just say you don't care, they're better, but that's how I feel.
hey, that's fine. I don't care.
And
NRG hasn't lost to anybody, so
literally, like, I don't even know what to tell people, bro. JDG just like, I don't know, they're fisting everybody for lack of a better term. So
yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. Next time we have this podcast, it'll be. By the
we
way,
will
what
see.
it'll be back to Wednesday next week, back to normal time since there will be no more Thursday games,
Mhm.
and we will be back at a normal time. But I do got to wrap this up because cannot
Sounds
go
good.
over again, or Emily will kill me this time because I've gone
Yep,
over
yep,
like
yep.
every time. So, any final words?
Uh, just that ni hao, boys, because apparently TSM is going to LPL, and I'll see y'all at Worlds.
For everybody else, thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube, be
See
sure to
ya.
subscribe down below and drop a like on the video. If you're on Twitch, be sure to follow. And if you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating and be sure to share it with your friends. It's much appreciated. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode. Adios. Bye bye.
Bye bye.